Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of All We Do Is Talk. Today we're talking the AFC East. I'm here with Isaiah Moody. How we doing today, boys?
Hump day. How y'all doing? Next tomorrow, some football. Get ready.
Yes, sir.
We'll have our week one predictions out hopefully before the game. If not at game time, but they'll be out Thursday or Friday for sure.
All right, so let's start with the Buffalo Bills, an uprising team.
The AFC runner-ups.
Isn't it crazy how great of a jump they've made? Now
they became a good organization all of a sudden. Like it really only takes one hire, one right move, one thing to fall your way, and you could go from Jets, Browns, Lions to Buffalo Bills.
And as we've seen, Cleveland Brown, quarterback, GM, head coach. That's the trifecta. So Buffalo had they had a pretty ho-hum offseason. I mean, they lost. Who did they lose? So they lost Tyler Croft, backup tight end. He made some plays. Ty Nsekhe, who was a really good, probably the best swing tackle in the league. So that's tough to lose him. Matt Barkley was their backup quarterback. I don't think he's played a lot recently.
He got cut by somebody recently.
Mitch Trubisky's their backup.
Corey Bourgeois, who was the punter that they let go, who got traded for assets. So hopefully if their punting game is terrible this year, that'll turn out to be a bad move. And Josh Norman, Mr.
Batman.
Or Derrick Henry's son.
That's all he'll be remembered for now. Not the fight with Odell Beckham Jr.
No,
not the All-Pro season. Not the $75 million contract. Not going to the Super Bowl. He'll be remembered for Derrick Henry stiff arming him into it. Just like Earl Thomas. Two great players are going to be remembered for being stiff armed by Derrick Henry for the next 5 years.
They'll remember the Odell fight. That was pretty epic. So Buffalo, they started free agency by signing Emmanuel Sanders to a 1 year, $6 million deal to be their wide receiver 3. How much more he has left? Where was he playing, in New Orleans last year?
Yeah.
I mean, he was looking good in the Super Bowl just 2 seasons ago.
Like, Emmanuel Sanders is still
He's played in 3 Super Bowls for 3 different teams. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, at least he got one. Isn't it 4? Wasn't he on the first Pittsburgh one? And 2 Denver ones?
No, he was only there for the second Denver one. Eric
Decker, wasn't there for
Eric Decker was their number 2.
He was still in Pittsburgh at that point?
Yeah, Eric Decker was their number 2. Oh. And, Emmanuel Sanders, so that's a good veteran leader. I mean, he's going to be receiver 3. I don't really know what you do with him and Cole Beasley in the slot because
Sanders can play outside. And I think Sanders is going to probably end up being receiver 4 by half.
I believe so, too. Because they also got Gabe Davis, and they got Isaiah McKenzie, who are probably going to be more explosive on the outside and have a good connection with Josh Allen. So I don't know how much use you'll get out of him production-wise, but that's a good veteran leadership. And like we said, he's been to 3 Super Bowls and with 3 different teams, so that's pretty dope. Other than that, they went and got Mitchell Trubisky, who looked amazing in the preseason in their system, which another knock on Matt Nagy if Mitchell Trubisky has to come in and save some games for Buffalo because that won't look good in Chicago. And then they made a swing for 2 players that I think are really good. Injured a lot and underperformed a lot, but Forrest Lamp, 1 year prove a deal, $1 million prove a deal, and Matt Breida, who's an explosive running back who gives you 5 good games a year.
And Buffalo's not going to run the ball a whole lot, so
they got to pick that up. So they got to become a better.
Josh Allen's their run game.
Yeah,
that has to end soon.
How did that work with Camden?
That has to end soon.
So free agency, losses and free agency wise, I give them a B just for housekeeping. Mm-hmm. They really couldn't do much. We will say they did extend Josh Allen, so they got that out of the way. They beat the Browns and the Ravens to it, which that's
outstanding. That's be like they committed to their guy. Now you can flesh out the rest of the team instead of worrying about a QB contract.
No, I did really like their draft. They got Gregory Russo, who I was really high on coming out. I think he was probably my edge 2 or 3. And I really and he looked really good in the preseason, real long, real athletic. I'm just wondering if they're going to use him more on the outside, like a just Pierre-Paul, or on the inside, like a DeForest Buckner or Armstead type of player. So, he'll probably do
I think he'll do both, yeah.
I just wonder which one they'll start somewhere. He's lined up mostly on the outside during the preseason. But I think you got a good versatility with him, and that's a good piece to get. They need pass rush. Pass rush is probably the biggest need on this team because they struggled against Kansas City getting to Patrick Mahomes, and you saw how easily Tampa Bay got to him. So that's how the difference in their pass rush. Other picks, Carlos Basham from Wake Forest.
Basham.
They need pass rush, so they hit it hard. So I mean, good 2 picks, good throws at it.
2 guys are like more bigger body, like 3-4 type of edge rusher type of guys instead of like your typical like bendy type of guys. They went with a different approach, I feel like.
They got Tommy Doyle, the tackle from Miami of Ohio. I thought he was a good prospect. Other than that, really, they got a lot of unproven guys.
I mean, they picked in the bottom of the round. Their team's pretty set. They have a pretty stacked.
They didn't have any 5th round picks. So most of the day 3 stuff was 6th and 7th round guys. Mm-hmm. So I mean, nobody to go crazy about. Maybe Spencer Brown, which shows they got 2 tackles, 2 edge. They need some tackle help. I think they re-signed the left tackle to Dawkins.
Or
it's Dawkins. Brian Dawkins. They traded for him a couple season ago.
I'm trying to think. I think it's Deion Dawkins. Brian's the Eagles guy. I was trying to think. Is Glenn still there or Cordy Glenn?
I don't know, but I know they have tackle for them. They got Ford, Cody Ford.
Yeah.
They have him from Oklahoma at guard. They played him at guard. He struggled last year, but he could develop. We'll see. Other than that, I gave their draft I gave it an A-. I really like the Gregory Russo pick, the Carlos Basham pick because they need edge and they got 2 tackles, so they need to protect the edge on defense and on offense. So you got to invest in the trenches because they look solid at quarterback, receiver, and DB. So and linebacker. So they look like they got a good, pretty fleshed out roster. I will say they got to fix their running game, and I just don't know. I don't know how.
I mean, their run game is going to be heavily Josh Allen because Dayball, he wants to throw the ball early and he wants to throw it often. He wants to throw it aggressively. Zach Moss, nor what's the other guy?
Devin Singletary
have not proven to be even decent running backs at the NFL level. So, and I doubt that's going to change. Usually, running backs pop early, not late. So I doubt that would be much of a change this year. But they're invested in the position. Those guys are going to be in the rotation. But Josh Allen's the do-it-all guy on that offense. He's the 2015 Cam Newton of that offense.
All right, and that's all for Buffalo. Really,
I wasn't as high. I personally wasn't as high on their draft. I like Boogie Basham, and I think Russo and Boogie Basham were closer and similar in terms of where they should have been drafted. So I didn't love taking Russo in the first round, but Buffalo is one of those teams where they're so stacked everywhere else that they can afford to take a hot upside luxury type of pick. So I'm fine with the.
He went after Farley. He was actually my second edge. He was my second.
You liked him more than Ojulari?
Ojulari was my first edge. He was my third edge because I forgot about Phillips. But Ojulari and Phillips had injuries.
Yeah.
So
definitely. He's one of those guys
around the same range as Owe. 2 raw guys that you're going to bank off of developing. So
Buffalo's been great with their player development. You expect that to continue going forward.
I am surprised they didn't take Kwity Paye because he was the other 4-3 end that I.
Well, they didn't. Kwity Paye went early.
No,
Kwity Paye went like 20 something to
26.
Indianapolis.
Yeah, I thought he went 26.
Wherever Indianapolis finished.
All right. But that's it for really Buffalo.
They're
clear favorites.
Yeah, clear shoulders favorites in the AFC East. All right, I guess we can move on to the Miami Dolphins, who had a surprising 10-6 record finish last year, despite the up and down quarterback play they received.
Whoa, Ryan Fitzpatrick was borderline elite last year.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is the definition of up and down quarterback play.
He was great last year.
You're gonna keep hyping up Ryan Fitzpatrick for the Washington football team fans because I think we know that 16 years.
I didn't say he was going to be your franchise.
You said borderline.
I'm just saying
great
last year,
borderline elite.
Last season in a vacuum.
Yet they
Ryan Fitzpatrick
with Tua.
He came in 2 of those games and won them.
I think that's that's a different issue than it is about how good Ryan Fitzpatrick actually is.
Tua wasn't going to make those plays that Ryan Fitzpatrick made to help them win those games. And that's why he got pulled. But yeah, the quarterback problem is their quarterback question mark is what's left on their team, really.
But all right, so we'll move on to the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins last year, 10-6. They finished second in the AFC East. They got blown out by Buffalo week 17 when they had their chance to get into the playoffs, and that's how Indianapolis backdoored their way in. They were 18th. They were the 18th ranked offense in the NFL. Not very good. They had, like I said, the quarterback issues back and forth. They struggled with that. The offensive line's pretty abysmal.
The receivers weren't that great.
Receivers weren't good either. So no real run game to speak of. The fact that they were this high, considering the talent that they actually had on their offense, is pretty impressive in my opinion. But on defense, they were pretty good. They were 11th in DVOA, 6th versus the pass, but they were an abysmal 22nd versus the run. But being better against the pass is way more valuable in today's NFL, which is why they ended up being 10-6. Overall,
which is crazy because they were good against the pass, but Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen ate them a lot.
I mean, like, yeah, they play in a scheme where if running quarterbacks can get out of the pocket, they can just throw the ball over a man coverage head all day long. So that's always going to be the issue in those heavy man schemes, playing quarterbacks who can make plays with their legs as well. As far as offseason additions, they added Jacoby Brissett to replace Ryan Fitzpatrick as QB2. Justin Coleman on the cornerback. Jason McCourty they brought in because he fits the Belichick scheme. Adam Butler, another guy from New England who could fit the Belichick scheme.
Is he a defensive end?
Yeah, he's a DM. Will Fuller, who's suspended for the first game or two. I can't remember exactly how many he's suspended for, but had a breakout season last year finally in Houston and adds a dynamic speed vertical threat for the Miami Dolphins.
Over under 10 games for Will Fuller this season.
I mean, he was pretty healthy last year. I mean,
what was pretty healthy? Did he play?
He played.
He got suspended.
He got suspended, so he never got the chance to get hurt. It looks like, but when he was before he got suspended, I think he played every game. They also added they added Greg Little, some tackle depth, Malcolm Brown, some running back depth. Overall, I like the additions they brought in. I'm surprised they weren't super. They had $33 million in cap space going into free agency. They really didn't spend it. They really didn't try to spend too much of it.
Will
Fuller got $10 million. Everyone else is
that's a third of the cap space.
$2 million deals though. I feel like they could have gone for another bigger fish for a team with a quarterback on a rookie contract. I feel like they missed an opportunity to add some really good players.
I'm trying to think.
I have to look back on it and see who's available in free agency. As for losses, they lost Kyle Van Noy. The outside of New England experiment failed for him as he's
second time
as he's going to take his butt back to New England. They lost
for the third time.
They lost Eric Flowers at guard.
They traded him.
They never should have paid him anyway.
I mean, it's weird because he had that above average. He had an above average season in Washington, and Washington asked for him back.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes for them. They also lost edge rusher Shaq Lawson. That was pretty recent. They just traded him away.
They got McKinney back from him.
They lost safety Bobby McCain, obviously Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they lost D tackle David Gottschall, who went to New England.
He was actually a really good runner.
Yeah, it's for a team that struggled against the run. That was a surprising person. I'm surprised they let him go so easily. But overall, I give their offseason a C. I like the Will Fuller ad. I like Jacoby Brissett he's a solid backup quarterback for Tua in case injuries pop up for him, and he's a good vet who can help Tua on the sidelines and things like that. But overall, a really uneventful offseason for a team that had a lot of cap space and a young roster that could really use some extra bump in free agency.
What player would they don't need a corner in them.
I feel like they missed out on adding in the offensive line. Joe Tooney was available. He went
to Kansas City. So like if Kansas City maxed him out, so if you have an offer of Kansas City maxing you out, then no one else has another chance. You're right. Kansas City. Right. Now they could have traded for Orlando Brown.
Yeah, it was like the Orlando Brown. That's a guy who could have been a trade as well. I just feel like they missed the boat on being able to add some good players in their team.
They don't need. Did they need an edge rusher maybe?
Definitely, I feel like they could. They added Will Fuller. They probably could have went harder at adding some pass catching talent, another tight end maybe as well. I like Gesicki, but maybe a Jonathan Smith or Hunter Henry to pair with that could have been helpful too. I just feel like they were a little conservative in free agency for a team. I'm gonna do it if they feel like they're already where they want to be. We'll see. So to move on to the draft, in the first, they had four picks in the top 60, I think. In the first round, they took Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips from Alabama. First receiver off the board from Alabama, and Jalen Smith from Miami.
Was that shocking to y'all?
I hate Jalen Waddle pick. I hate it so much. That's like we all saw how abysmal that offensive line was. We know Tua's smaller. We know Tua's coming off a catastrophic injury. Got to protect your quarterback.
They did take a tackle. The problem is they took a tackle. They took 2 tackles in the last 2 drafts. So like you can't just keep taking.
But if those guys aren't. No, you can't. If those guys aren't good.
I mean, you got to wait to see if they develop.
If those guys haven't shown the ability to be good.
Look at Bowles in Denver. Like you got to wait to see if he's going to be good before you.
Yeah, and how's that 5-year playoff drop for Denver going? because they're waiting on guys to be good.
Now they got a franchise left tackle. I mean, you could always wait around for a franchise left tackle. They've invested in the line.
But like just Vera Tucker, Sean Slater, those guys can play some guard, some tackle.
Didn't they take Liam Eichenberg too?
They did take Liam Eichenberg.
So yeah,
I was going to get to that later. But Jalen Waddle they took in the first. Jalen Phillips they took in the. They also took later in the first round because they desperately need edge rush help. After that terrible miss of Charles Harris a few years ago, they still are looking for edge rush help. And Jalen Phillips, injuries, concussions, he could be gone at any time. But if he's healthy and active, he's probably edge one in the class.
Does he fit that scheme?
I think he fits any scheme. That's how special of an athlete he is, in my opinion. They're going to play him outside linebacker, and he's going to. Now, if he has to stay healthy, that's the only thing about Jalen Phillips. I think he had the best pass rushing tools. He was a freak athlete as well. They're gonna have a plan for him. He's gonna be a good player for them. He's got to stay healthy. In the second, they took my favorite safety in the draft, Javon Holland. I think he was the most solid, strong, free guy in the draft.
TCU?
No, that's Moreg. Javon Holland's from Indiana. I think he's from Indiana.
I like both the TCU guys, but
Arnerius didn't even get drafted. That's crazy. And they also took Liam Eichenberg, the tackle from Notre Dame, in the second round,
who struggled. But they haven't played guard.
Oh, they moved him to guard?
That's what I've seen.
He's definitely more of a tackle in my opinion, but everyone likes to try to move guys inside to play guard. But Notre Dame is the O-line factory, so I expect him to pick it up and be a good player for them as well. But their offensive line's obviously pretty weak. In the third, they took Hunter Long. That was their basically their last pick of the draft. They didn't have a fourth, fifth, or sixth, and they took a couple of bottom guys in the seventh. Overall, I don't think they're a better team than they were last year, although I do really like the Will Fuller addition. It's just it'll be interesting to see how much Tua's progression can offset some of the other things they lost on that team.
It's just weird because New England was bad last year. And did they beat New England twice last year?
No, the New England beat them in week one, like 21-11, and I think Miami won the second one.
So like with New England being better, I wonder how much that makes them feel, how much that can knock off how good they looked last year. Eric, how do you feel about Buffalo and Miami?
Buffalo, I mean, it's hard for them to gain any free agency. I mean, I don't think they had much cap room to begin with extending Josh Allen. That's where most of your money went. And then it's hard to have a high draft grade if you're at the bottom of each round, which means you're being successful when you want to be successful. Unlike the team I'm going to go over, who every year they have an A+ draft. Miami, I mean, yeah, I think it's a growing year to see what Tua can do. I like the Will Fuller addition because that adds a deep threat weapon that he can have. I wish they addressed the offensive line with that Jalen Waddle.
Everybody keeps ignoring Liam Eichenberg. He's got to be feeling his feelings.
Yeah, I mean, like Ian Eichenberg is a fine addition, but I feel like I'd rather have like Slater or Vera Tucker and a receiver in the second, like an Elijah Moore in the second, or Terrence Marshall Jr. I think I'd rather have that combo than Jalen Waddle and Liam Eichenberg.
They still addressed it though.
It was a good tackle at Notre Dame. Like he was
the
captain of that offensive line. But
that's what I'm saying. I keep saying they didn't address it. They took a tackle in the first round last year.
As well as they should.
They took a tackle in the second round this year.
Awful. I mean, Austin Jackson, they took the fourth tackle, who's looked pretty awful so far, and they took Liam Eichenberg, and they waited to the second on that when there were a couple of like blue chip offensive line talents in the first round that I thought they could have had. Jalen Waddle is an explosive athlete. They probably have the fastest receiving core in the NFL, and I don't, other than Kansas City, I think those two are probably
also has chemistry with Tua.
Everyone wants to like reunite their guys. I think people were doing that to detriment.
Devontae went back to Jalen Hurts. You know, when he played at Alabama.
Well, Tua also played at Alabama. That's also a connection.
Yeah,
but
Tua won a national championship with Devontae's connection.
They went with Waddle.
Devontae, in my opinion, Devontae was clearly the third guy, but it was close.
It was close. But overall, Miami, they look about the same. We'll see how the Tua progression goes to determine what their season looks like this upcoming year. But I guess we can move on next to the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots, we know first year without Tom Brady, Bill Belichick really had to come out here and He put on. I think they finished 7-9. Cam had COVID for a stretch of that as well.
And don't forget, he fumbled that ball against Buffalo when they probably would have won that game.
So yeah, they were on a 2-yard line against Seattle. They could have won that game as well. So like this New England team wasn't bad. For consider what their record was.
Oh, no, their offense was gone.
And all the opt-outs they had last year. The offense was better than you think, but the passing offense was abysmal. Last year, New England was surprisingly 26 in defensive DVOA last year after finishing number 1 in 2019. But that could be explained by all the opt-outs they had in the front seven, the aging of Devin McCourty, the aging of Jason McCourty, the aging of Stephon Gilmore. So the defense that was the runaway best in the NFL 2 years ago dealt with a lot of injuries and a lot of problems last year in a weird season.
I'll also say, I see when that Rams Super Bowl year, they kind of maxed out. Like that's when they were like, we got these guys in there.
Everyone hit their peaks, but we know Bill's going to be able to put something together. They were still mediocre against the pass, 18th, but they were dead last in run defense DVOA last year. They could not stop the run. Losing Dante Hightower is a big part of that. He's the driving force in the middle of that field. He's the run stuffer. He attacks he pushes the pocket and attacks on blitzes. Losing him last year was gigantic. The leader of that defense, getting him back is going to be incredible for New England next year. On offense, they were 23rd. Obviously, they were awful in the passing game. Cam Newton only threw 9 touchdowns to 10, 11 interceptions. It wasn't a good passing performance, but his number 1 receiver was Jacoby Myers. They really didn't have a whole lot in terms of passing talent on that team. I think it was unrealistic to expect them to be able to throw the ball at a high level. But they were 8th in rushing. They were a really good rushing team. Their offensive lines, they brought back Trent Brown. Even though they lost Joe Thuney, their offensive line still expected to be one of the 5-10 best in the league next year.
Apparently, they had a guy to replace that played some. They have a reserve guy who played last
year. We
know
that they got David Andrews, those guys on the offensive line. We know the New England offensive line is going to be very. That's the strength of their offense. It's probably going to be the strength of their team this year. Is how good their offensive line will be. They were 8th in rushing last year, and while Mac Jones ain't going to give you the rushing that Cam Newton did to supplement that, I think that Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Williams and those guys in the New England backfield can more than make up for the production.
Is David Andrews on the tag still?
Nah, because they tagged Joe Thuney, so there's no way they could have tagged.
No, they didn't tag Joe Thuney. He left.
2 years. They tagged. So Joe Thuney was coming off the tag. So David Andrews on the tag this year.
Maybe.
I don't know if they tagged him. They spent a lot of money to be able to tag a guy. All right. So in the offseason, New England splurged. They spent $160 million in free agency this year, which is something that New England does not normally do. But with Tom Brady being out the door and winning a Super Bowl, and they had all the cap space in the world, it makes sense that Bill Belichick wanted to be aggressive in rebuilding the team and trying to get back to where he expects to be playing late in January. They added Matt Judon from the Baltimore Ravens to go help on the edge because they've been missing that edge presence since Chandler Jones left them many years ago. They brought back Trent Brown from his terrible stint in Vegas now. They brought back Kyle Van Noy, obviously, to come be that filler piece.
He's always elite as hell.
In New England, he's just, you know how it is. It's a New England effect. Bill Belichick knows how to get those guys exactly where they need to be. Other guys just know what Bill's told them to do. It's not the same thing. They added 2 tight ends and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. We know Bill loves his 12 personnel. I think that would be great for Mac Jones because they're not really special at receiver in any way, shape, or form. But Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith are 2 guys who can make plays all over the field. Jonnu can be that flex H-back type of move tight end. Hunter Henry's your more traditional guy, but he's still an excellent pass catcher in that offense as well.
He's hurt already, probably.
Yeah, we know the injury issues are always going to be the underlying statement when it comes to Hunter Henry, but when he plays, he's top 10 tight end in the NFL, in my opinion. They also added some other depth guys: Henry Anderson, Jalen Mills, Kendrick Bourne, Raekwon McMillan, Nelson Aguilar. I always got to say it like that, like the guy who was catching the babies.
Hey, Nelson Aguilar, all he does now is catch touchdowns.
Explosive touchdowns. And they also, like we talked about in the last time, David Godchild, they stole him from Miami as well. Tried to rebuild that front seven with getting the opt-outs back to get that run defense back to a respectable level after being bottom of the league last year. They lost Joe Thuney, who was I think their best offensive lineman last year. He went to rival Kansas City to go help them rebuild their offensive line, but New England had excellent offensive line depth. They should be able to fill his spot in pretty capably. They also lost Marcus Cannon. He went to Houston, I think, to go be their bucket and tackle with Larry Tunsil. They lost Jason McCourty, veteran safety, cornerback in the secondary. Lost Adam Butler. And in the last 2 weeks, they traded Sony Michel to the LA Rams to help
and cut Cam Newton.
And obviously cut Cam Newton as they handed the starting job to Mac Jones. Overall, I gave their offseason a B+. I think they did a really good job of splurging in free agency to add all over that roster and bring in fresh new talent after New England had kind of got stuck in the mud of relying on Tom Brady to do everything for that team and Bill Belichick to do everything for the defense. Now
that's a great formula. That's a formula like one of 6.
Yeah, and then as we saw in 2019 when it was like, oh no, this team's not talented no more, and now guys are getting older, and boom, it turns into Derrick Henry running for 250 on you in your home building to send Tom Brady to Tampa Bay. But other than that, I think they've retooled that defense. They've added really good talent on offense to help Mac Jones transition to the starting role. I think they had outside of losing a couple of starting offensive linemen, but doing the offensive line still expected to be good anyway. They had a really, really good, aggressive off free agency to try to bring that team back to where it usually is supposed to be. In the draft, obviously in the first round, they took their new starting quarterback, Mac Jones, new Tom Brady, the next franchise quarterback in New England. That's what they're hoping for anyway.
You better be lucky. Tom Brady, lucky.
Mac Jones in New England always felt right. No, I don't care what anybody was talking about Mac Jones to San Francisco. That was always nonsense. New England taking Mac Jones at 15 seemed like the perfect fit all year, and it seems like it's going to work out for them.
If he does hit, though, it's not going to look good.
It's not going to look good for other teams who's passing on quarterbacks. But Mac Jones, I don't think Mac Jones could have found himself in a better situation. With Bill and Josh McDaniels, they know how to develop a quarterback with his exact skill set to turn him into at least a solid player. I think he'll be really good. He obviously beat out Cam Newton for the starting job. And it's a new era in New England with the Mac Jones. In the second round, they took one of my favorite players in the draft who fell a little bit, in my opinion. And that's Christian Barmore from Alabama.
He didn't really fall. He kind of went.
I thought he was a first-round player. They got him in the second. So I think to me, he fell.
I think he's more comparable to Dalvin Tomlinson, who went in that range.
He's got pass rush ability, though. That's the thing I like.
So does Dalvin Tomlinson, but he clearly wasn't the guys in the Alabama guys in Washington.
So he's not Jonathan Allen, definitely. I think he's different than De'Aaron Payne. De'Aaron Payne's more of that big run stopper type. I think Barmore is a little bit more of an athletic, rushing type of defensive tackle as well.
He's going to kill it in that system.
He's also an excellent system for him to be in. The Alabama to New England, that's a farm system right there. Boom, boom. He's not even going to have to learn anything new, in my opinion, as far as like scheme wise, because we know Bill and Saban run basically the same stuff. In the third, they took another guy I really like, Ronnie Perkins, the edge from Oklahoma. He was another one of those high upside type of pass rushers who went on day 2. He's got really good athleticism. New England trying to address the pass rush. They added Matt Judon, draft Ronnie Perkins. You know they're going to be able to be creative with their fronts and their blitzes. Having more talent up front always helps. In the fourth, they took what looks like the darling of preseason, Ramondre Stevenson, who looks like he's going to be one of those fantasy darlings. Even though I like Damian Williams a lot from Alabama, but David Harris a lot from Alabama. They're going to rotate those. They're going to rotate those running backs in pretty consistently. But Ramondre Stevenson looked like a really, really good pickup. And then
they're both on my fantasy team, so
you need one of them to pop.
Get it, Bill.
And they added some extra guys later. They added a linebacker from Michigan and Cameron McGrone, and they added a DB, Joshua Bledsoe. In their draft, I gave him an A++. Getting your franchise quarterback in the first round is always a fantastic pick. We'll see if he works out, but he obviously already beat out Cam Newton for the starting job. So it looks so far so good for that. I'm really high on Christian Barmore and Ronnie Perkins to fill in that, to help replenish that front seven that was starting to age out a little bit. Pair that with the opt-outs they're going to get back. That seems like a really, really good combination for them. Ramondre Stevenson looks like a stud at tailback. So overall, I gave the draft the A+, a rare high draft grade for Bill Belichick, as he has struggled to draft in the past, but it looks like this year he hit a little bit better.
All right, Eric, talk to us about New England and then move us on to the factory of sadness.
I like the Mac Jones pickup. Not having to trade up to get your quarterback is always a big bonus, to not having to give up any future assets. I like their free agency a lot with their 2 tight ends that they signed. I mean, Bill Belichick loves his tight ends. He can go back to that Aaron Hernandez, Gronk type offense. But yeah, I think they had a really good. They splurged.
How you gonna use Aaron Hernandez's name first?
Oh man! All right, continue.
But on to the Jets.
Just in the season.
Just in the season.
They spend a lot of money. It seems like every offseason to try to.
They always have
it. Gave the most money to Carl
They're the
Lawson.
only team that could draft the best player in the draft every year and spend the most
never
money
give a second contract.
And then use that money to spend on more free agents. Go ahead, Eric. My bad.
They gave a 3-year, $45 million deal to Carl Lawson from Cincinnati.
Who's out with a torn Achilles, so basically toss that away.
That's pain.
And then they brought in Corey Davis from Tennessee. He got like $12.5 million. Yeah, $12.5 million.
Yeah, he got a decent number 2 contract. He's probably the number 1 receiver right now.
Yeah, probably.
I would say.
They also gave a 2-year, $11 million deal to Sheldon Rankins from New Orleans. And also they took from New Orleans Justin Hardy. They gave a 3-year deal for only $2.25 million, which I think is
he got a 3-year. He signed a 3-year deal for only $2.5 million.
Yeah, that's a
damn.
They also brought in Keenan Cole as another weapon. Just a 1-year deal, but I think that can help.
He can. He's really good in Jacksonville.
They got a lot of receivers, though. That's the thing.
They do.
They drafted 2. They got Crowder, who's currently hurt, Keenan Cole, and Davis. Mm-hmm. And I like Moore and Mims, even though Mims has been hurt and apparently has fallen out of grace with the new staff. That's the problem. They always bring in new staff.
They also.
You didn't even.
Huh?
They brought in Robert Saleh as their new head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they also brought in the old Tevin Coleman as a receiving back. He used to be a fantasy. Awesome for my.
No, he had 1 week, and I had him on my fantasy team. That's all that matters. That's what you want to say. He had 1 week where he fell into the end zone 5 times and won me a fantasy football game single-handedly. Shout out Tevin Coleman, but he's always hurt. He also cost Atlanta that Super Bowl, but he's a part of that too. So I digress. Continue.
They also brought in free safety LaMarcus Joyner for a 1-year deal.
I didn't realize it.
As well as Morgan Moses from the football team. To put it right tackle. But yeah, I mean, I'd give their free agency probably a B to B plus. I like the Corey Davis. They didn't give him a full on wide receiver money. And they gave Zach Wilson some weapons that he can try to use. Speaking of Zach Wilson, let's move on to the draft. Initially, when they drafted Zach Wilson, I was not a fan. I thought it was a terrible pick, but seeing him in the preseason, he has much better arm talent than I thought he had.
He's looked the best, in my opinion. He's looked the best in the preseason of all the rookie quarterbacks, which is shocking because I wasn't high on him either. So we'll have to wait and see how that works.
He also has the best O-line of those draft picks. We'll see about Mac Jones. Mac Jones right up there too, but Zach Wilson probably has the best O-line by far.
They also had another first-round pick, the 14th overall pick, where they got Elijah Vera Tucker. I love this pick. I think his versatility is great.
Because
primarily
they're going to play him at guard.
Yeah, he's going to play him at guard, but he can push out to tackle if need be. Another pick I really liked was in the second round. They got Elijah Moore from Ole Miss, who just adds another weapon for Zach Wilson. More of a speedster guy, but he can be part of the slot for them in that. Another, I think, is a quality pick in the 4th round. They got Michael Carter out of UNC. He was part of that.
I love that pick.
He was a part of that two-headed monster in the backfield for North Carolina last year. In the 5th round, they got Jamian Sherwood from Auburn, linebacker. CJ Mosley probably hasn't filled the void that they wanted to, so this gives them added depth there.
Yeah, just think about that. Their 3 biggest free agency signings of the last 2-3 seasons are Le'Veon Bell, CJ Mosley, and Carl Lawson.
We know how it goes to the Jets. Like, when's the last time they gave up a first-round pick a second contract?
You see, I tagged you in the thing. They don't even have any of the people who were there on the uniform deal from the last time.
Like the Jets are nothing but turnover.
Taylor Mays got tagged. I mean, Marcus May got tagged.
Not a second contract.
But
yeah, anything else, Eric?
Yeah, I'd give their draft probably an A. Obviously, getting your quarterback of the future. It is what it is. I mean, we'll see what Zach Wilson can do. I love the Vera Tucker pick, the Elijah Moore pick, and the Michael Carter pick. So, I mean, they definitely gave him some protection and weapons in this draft. So, I think their draft was definitely a success.
The Jets are ascending, in my opinion. I definitely think they're going to be a significantly better team. I think they'll at least triple their win total from last year.
Triple in that division?
That's 6 wins. I mean, they were only at 2 last year.
6 wins. And that should be 6-11.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think they're in that Chicago class.
I think they're the best bad team in the NFL.
So they might win 4 or 5 games, and if they max out, they might win 6.
Yeah.
They play in a tough division, which is that might be that. I don't see them beating any of those other teams in that division.
I think they could beat Miami.
With that coach, Miami's coaching is elite against young quarterbacks, and then Bill Belichick's coaching is elite.
I don't expect them to beat New England or Buffalo, but I definitely think they could beat and I think they'll beat the Bengals, the Jaguars, the Texans. They'll beat those bad teams.
They're still really young. They're really, really young, and their coach is really young. But anything else, Eric? Before we can move on to maybe since we're talking about projections, some over-unders and win totals.
Oh, let's get into it.
So Buffalo, they're currently sitting at 11 games. That's an easy over. Easy over.
I don't know about
the AFC is bad. I don't know if it's easy.
It's easy.
The 11 sounds about right.
So I predict 12. I've seen 12 easy ones on their schedule because I think they'll only have to worry about New England, really.
I think Miami could get them one off of them.
Like they did last year.
Don't forget, Miami almost beat them in the first game.
And in the second game?
They got blown out. But I'll probably take the over because Buffalo's really, really good. But, man, 11 is a high total.
Yeah. I think yesterday we predicted that Cleveland and Baltimore were going to be over 10 wins, and Cleveland was 11.5, so we went over there too. They're going to be that's why you said the Jets are going to be good. Like, no, that top of the AFC is hellacious.
The AFC is loaded. Every team's got a franchise quarterback, except for Denver, because Denver don't like to take quarterbacks. But the AFC is stacked, man. The AFC is really, really good.
Eric, you going over or under on Buffalo's 11?
I'll go over. I'll go over on it.
The word I want to use is push.
Yeah, if it was 11.5, I'd go under. The 11 if they have it at 11 for these elite teams, that's when it gets hard because that's when you're pushing them to have their quarterback be an MVP candidate or just make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen's going to carry them to that 11. My guess was that Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs would carry them to 12 wins. That's what I'm banking on. And like once they bust up on Pittsburgh this weekend, because that game's almost here, like they got to win those type of games, the question mark games. Miami's sitting at 9.5.
I took the over. Miami won 10 games last year. I think they'll win 10 games this year.
I took the under. I think New England's better than them. So that takes us to New England, who's sitting at 9 games, and I took the under.
And I took the under for New England, actually. I think they were at 9.5, I thought.
I got them at 9 right here.
Either way, I think New England's a 9-8 team. Just because rookie quarterback, I gotta see him pop out and just be spectacular in a hellacious AFC conference. So I took them at 9-8, 8-9. They're gonna be hovering around that area, I think, this year.
I took the over.
The Jets. Yeah.
What is it?
And the Jets are sitting at 6. So I hit the under.
Under.
I was just saying that the Jets.
Yeah, I can't believe their win total is as high as 6.
Yeah,
that's actually a pretty high win total. But yeah, with the extra game, can they hit 6?
I have to look at their schedule.
I don't see them getting to 7-8 wins unless Zach Wilson. Unless Tony Romo is right and Zach Wilson is Patty Mahomes.
Why Tony capping like that? So division rankings, how you rack them up?
I'll probably go with Buffalo, Miami, New England, Jets.
I'll go Buffalo, New England, Miami, Jets.
Yeah, I got Eric's way too. I got Buffalo, New England, Miami, Jets.
All right.
Take us home.
Only one last division to go, or conference. We got to wrap up the NFC.
Take us home.
All right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that jazz. Interact with us. We love it. Have a good one, boys.